Hey guys, we're going to be doing a quick tutorial here on how to document your work because we're going to have to do a lot of conversations and user critiques and talk about things through just images of it. So I want to make sure everybody knows how to photograph their work and make sure the images are nice and square and the colors are correct. So we're going to go through this real quick. I'm going to go ahead and open up the file I am working with. I'm just going to drag it down here into Photoshop, and it'll just pull up. And as you can see right here, this is a picture that I just took with my iPhone. The light in the room was a little bit yellow, so that wall, which is actually white, kind of has an orangish hue. And those kind of colors cast over the entire painting. So we're going to try and correct those. And then this photo is actually fairly square, but it could be a little bit off. If you take something from a slight angle, it's going to kind of warp how it looks. So we're going to square that up too. But first step is going to be to get the color of the background correct. So we're going to go up to Image and Adjustments, and we're going to use the Curves function. So when you open it up, you have these three little eyedroppers down here. This one's for black, this one's for mid-tone gray, and this one's for white. I'm going to select the white one, and I'm going to find an area on the back that is white, and I'm going to click that. It's really helpful to kind of click around a little bit, because as you see, if you click in certain areas, the pixel you're clicking on is either lighter or darker than another, and sometimes it'll blow it out and make it way too bright, kind of like this, or it could be too dark in certain areas. So I'm just going to click around until I find something that kind of feels like it's close to correct. And I kind of like that. You can see the background is more of a white, natural tone. We can also go in here and you can adjust the light this way. I can bring my brightness up or the brightness sections down. Same with the dark areas. I can bring the dark light. Oh, that looks horrible. Or bring the darks really down. But I'm going to leave this kind of fairly close to where that was because the auto adjustment with the white worked pretty well. So we'll keep that there. All right, I'll go ahead and just hit OK, and then it'll apply it to the image. So now we have kind of correct colors, but we still have all of this kind of texture from the wall in the background, and I do kind of want that just to be just solid white. So what I'm going to do is come up here to this magic wand tool. It might look like the quick selection tool on your screen, but you just have to right click it and switch over to the magic wand tool. What that's going to do is when you click an area, it's going to select all of the other pixels that are similar to it within that certain range. You can change the range up here. So, if I want that to be a little bit more lenient or a little bit more specific, let's switch this up to 55 and see what that does. Looks pretty good. It's not going to get everything, but that's all right for this. And then I'm going to come down and I want to add in this shaded area. So I'm going to hold Shift and then click in there. But uh-oh, that was way too much. So I'm going to hold Command and press Z and undo that. And then we'll do those just as separate layers. So I've got all that area selected. I'm going to come in with the paintbrush tool, and I'm going to set my color to white right down here. And then I'm just going to color that all in solid white. Then I'm going to go back and I'm going to deal with the shadowed area now. So as we saw when I clicked that, it kind of pulled up into Cosby's sweater, and we don't want that. So let's make this tolerance level a little bit lower. I'm going to go down to 25 and see how that works. So that's a little bit better. It's kind of just getting this area maybe a little bit more. I'll try 35. Oops. All right, we'll say that's as good as it's going to get for this. And again, go back and paint it white. And then I'll just click my the marquee tool over here and just click anywhere, so it's going to deselect. Now we just kind of want to go back and clean up a little bit of this stuff. So I'm going to go again with my brush tool. I want to make it a little bit smaller. And I'll zoom into an area. And I'm going to make it close to the edge, but not perfectly on it. And I'm going to hold Shift and just drag across. And that should keep it in a straight line. You can kind of zoom in and get a little bit of that. Actually, these kind of paint hanging over the edge is kind of nice. So I'm going to see. Let's fill that in so we still have those kind of paint chips. And again, click to unselect things, and I'm going to go back in and just kind of clean up that area. It doesn't have to be perfect for this. If you were going to be submitting this to like a show or something, it probably would be better to spend the time to make sure you get down to everything. But for this, obviously since we have a bit of a strange teaching environment right now, I think spending a little bit of time of practicing and figuring out how to properly get these images looking the way that they should will be a good thing to work on that we can do from afar. Zoom out. And again, hold shift, which just locks it into place either straight up and down or straight to the side. Clean up all in here. Left and right. That was just me holding shift and swiping to the left and right, which I knew when I hold shift it's going to stay straight, so it's not going to go onto the painting itself. Again, I'm holding shift and dragging down. And whoops, see, now that was a little bit too close because the painting's not exactly straightened out yet. So I'm going to hold Command and Z to undo that and just kind of move out a little bit and redo it from the bottom. And then I can go in, and if there's anything I need to clean up in there, I can. But that looks fairly good as far as the white background. Now we want to kind of straighten things out. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Edit and Perspective Warp. And then what you can do with Perspective Warp is click and drag a box around. Give yourself a little bit of space around it. You don't want it to be right on the very corners. You'll see why in just a few minutes. And then I'm going to hit Enter, and you'll see those corners turn to black. At this point, we can kind of stretch and skew things around to get it to be that perfect square. And to make sure that we are staying on a square, we're going to hit Command and then press the quotations button or the apostrophe, and that's going to bring up the grid. If you can't do it that way, you can also go into View, and I believe it's in here. Maybe it's not in View. Hold on. I thought it was. Okay, yeah. Since I'm already selected, it would be in the guides. Let me undo it and do it that way for you. Hold on. Show grid. There we go. That's where it would be. But the quick command or the shortcut is just Command and parentheses or quotation marks. All right, so now that we have this sort of grid set up on the page, we can use that to kind of move the painting around. And then I'm just going to like look at these lines to make sure that everything is squared up, and that's a nice perfect square. Coming down here, it looks like it's a little bit further out on that edge, so I'll bring it in a little bit. And then again, that one looks pretty good, and maybe I'll bring this top side out a little bit so it's nice. All right, that looks pretty good. So I'll hit Enter, it'll square it up, and then I can just turn off that grid, and I have a nice square, correct color image. You can still go back, with my white color and fix this area that it had to kind of add some invisible or transparent layer to fill in that space. And then you can leave it like this, or we can crop it down to something that makes sense. And then we have the image. So you just go ahead and File, save that as, and it's going to be best to switch it to not a Photoshop file, just drop it down to a JPEG. And then I'll save that one to my desktop. And then your image will be saved. So we're going to be doing this with all of our works, in progress and finished. That's kind of how we're going to be communicating back and forth and being able to look at them. So this way we can really talk about the colors being correct and get a good view without distractions from things being skewed or things in the background. So we're going to go ahead and start with practicing that. Make sure you guys have Adobe Photoshop downloaded. If you don't, you should be able to do that for free using your Art Academy account. So make sure that's downloaded, and we will be in conversation.